Hey, what's going on guys? Today let's take a look at the new weapon refinement update. There's a bunch of heroes getting a new toy in this update. There's Lilina, Ephraim, Hector. The big one is Roy, Karel, and then last but not least, Lloyd. I'm going to share my opinion and also include some build ideas that you could try out with these new weapons. If you have any questions or any additional things to add to this video, feel free to comment below. Let's start off with Ephraim. His Siegmund now has two different upgrade paths. He can go for an upgraded Siegmund, or he can turn his Siegmund into Flame Siegmund, which is the same weapon that legendary Ephraim wields. Both of these weapons are very similar, and both of them grant Ephraim guaranteed double attacks. The difference is that the upgraded Siegmund has a HP requirement. Ephraim has to be above 90% HP, but it also has Hone Attack 3 built in. On the other hand, Flame Siegmund grants 3 attack passively, and in order for Ephraim to get the double attack effect, he basically has to be isolated and away from his allies. For infantry Ephraim, I think the original upgraded Siegmund is still a lot better for him, mainly because of the Hone Attack buff. If you give him Flame Siegmund, then his entire playstyle changes. He'll become more like a lone wolf. I also think that Flame Siegmund is more effective on a cavalry unit like legendary Ephraim, because it's easier for cavalry units to isolate themselves by using their 3-space movement. But do keep in mind that Ephraim is an infantry unit, so he can inherit powerful cooldown reduction skills like the breath skills and wrath, which legendary Ephraim cannot. So infantry Ephraim could actually become a pretty strong soloer with Flame Siegmund. As for builds, I have 4 for you guys. Shout out to Planetario. If you saw Big Boy Builds Part 6, she showcased this Ephraim build, but she had the upgraded Siegmund instead of Flame Siegmund. They both work, but Flame Siegmund works a lot better. Basically, Ephraim gains 5 special charges after fighting a melee unit, Gale Force activates, Double Savage Blow activates, and Lunge moves them forward. Double Savage Blow hits surrounding enemies for 14 damage, and that should be enough to soften up the enemy so Ephraim can take out his second target using a second turn from Gale Force. Second build is something I came up with out of the blue: Escutcheon, Brazen Attack Defense, Shield Pulse, Attack Smoke, and Heavy Blade. So the goal was to make Ephraim as tanky as possible so he can be self-sufficient. Shield Pulse reduces Escutcheon's cooldown from 2 to 0 at the start of combat. When he goes to fight his first foe, he attacks enemy counters, which pops Escutcheon. Ephraim attacks a second time and Escutcheon's cooldown goes from 2 to 0 again, and Attack Smoke activates. Basically, Escutcheon is planned to activate every time a melee unit attacks Ephraim, and he'll charge it to full on every counter hit. If everything goes according to plan, he should be able to survive for a very long time against melee foes. Here's a few options for the third set. In the A slot, you can go with Death Blow or Sturdy Blow. There's a lot of options for the B slot. You can go with Hit and Run, Renewal, or even Desperation. You have 2 options for this special. It's either Gale Force or Aether. I personally really like Hit and Run with Aether. With Heavy Blade equipped, Ephraim gains 5 special charges on the player phase, so it's not like he can activate Aether. So with Hit and Run, he can go in, 1 round KO somebody, retreat 1 space backwards and get out of danger, and then save his Aether activation for the next player phase. If you go with Gale Force, I think Desperation would be more appropriate. Last set is a Steady Breath Wrath build. This set should mainly be used on the enemy phase for obvious reasons. Pretty simple and straightforward set. On the enemy phase, Ephraim procs Aether on every second hit. Wrath's cooldown reduction effect doesn't really do anything. Aether will still pop on the second hit either way, but Wrath is nice to have for that extra 10 special damage. The other evolution weapon is the Berserk Armads. The original wielder of this weapon is Valentine's Hector. Now, regular Hector can evolve or upgrade his Armads into the Berserk Armads. It's an extremely powerful weapon. Not only does it accelerate special trigger cooldown by 1, it also reduces 1 additional special cooldown at the start of turn if the unit's HP is equal or less than 75%. This means that when Hector is at 75% HP, Aether starts off at 3 cooldown, Ignis at 2, Bonfire at 1, and Glimmer starts at 0. Also, the effect grants an additional 10 damage when special triggers, which is icing on the cake. Again, Berserk Armads is a very strong weapon, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's better than the original Armads. Armads was the only weapon in the game with quick bows built in, so there's some unique skill sets that only Armads Hector can do. For example, the Quad Breaker Warrior Fighter build with Quick Repose Seal. If you have both Valentine's Hector and regular Hector, then I don't really see a point of giving Berserk Armads to Hector unless you plan to plus 10 merge him, because stat wise, Valentine's Hector is no question way better. If you weren't lucky enough to summon Valentine's Hector, then yeah, feel free to evolve Armads into Berserk Armads on your regular Hector, but I wouldn't make it a priority. Okay, so for builds, I have 3 of them. First one is Bold Fighter. Aether or Ignis can work with this set. On the player phase, Hector is able to activate Ignis on his second hit, With Aether, he cannot unless Berserk Armads reduces the cooldown from 4 to 3. He's going to need extra mobility with this build, so armor boots or armor march buff will be important. I would use armor boots on mixed teams, and on armor emblem teams, make sure someone on team has armor march, whether it's Hector himself or an armor ally. If you go with Wrath, he's going to want a 3-charge special like Bonfire. That way when he's at 75% HP, Bonfire's cooldown starts at 1. Use him to bait foes on the enemy phase, so when he gets hit, the special will activate perfectly on his first counter hit. If you are on a budget, then Warrior Fighter or Vantage will work in the B slot, but you'll have to give him a 2-charge special like Glimmer or Moonbow. I would recommend Glimmer over Moonbow so he can take out mages more effectively. Next is Fur and Karel's Nameless Blade. The refined weapon grants 3 HP, accelerates special trigger, and deals 10 extra damage when special triggers. It's not anything new because it's the same as Michaelis's and Minerva's Hawk Claire. It's basically just a stronger Wodow, which is great. These two heroes are really special reliant since their attack stat isn't that impressive. These two heroes were often built using either Slaying Edge or Wodow, and this refinement combines the two, so that's really convenient for them. Yeah, not really much to talk about here, so we'll go straight into builds. Karel obviously can go with standard Desperation sets with a 2 or 3 charge special. C slot is flexible, but Infantry Pulse would be great in that slot because Karel can get his HP up to 50. Second set is Aether Steady Breath Swordbreaker. Depending on your Karel's IVs, you might not need Swordbreaker. You can go Quicker Post or Wrath instead. If you do that, then I would recommend having some sort of speed buff available on the team. As for Fur, distant counter builds work great with her stat line. She naturally has high speed, so she should be able to prevent doubles from many matchups. That being said, distant defense isn't necessarily needed. Instead, go with Quick Post Seal. If your Fur is plus 10 merge and has plus speed IVs, then maybe consider taking out Quicker Post for something else. C slot is flexible, but defense ploy is a great option. Alright, Lloyd's Regal Blade. At start of the combat, if foe's HP is 100%, grants attack speed plus 3 during combat. If Lloyd is within 2 spaces of an infantry magic ally, grants 3 in all stats during combat. Not bad of an effect. He could very well hit around 44 to 45 speed without any merges or outside buffs, which is pretty damn good. I'm certain that when it says magic ally, it only refers to mages because that's how it's always been, but if anyone can double check that for me, I would highly appreciate it. But moving on, the requirement isn't hard to meet. Lloyd just has to be near an infantry mage. The downside is that infantry mages score very low in arena, and Lloyd, we all know, isn't a good arena scorer because of bad merge potential. So having both Lloyd and an infantry mage on the same team is bad for arena in terms of arena scoring. However, he'll still be a great pick for arena assault though. Anyways, a cool team that you can make now is Hinoka, Sanaki, and Lloyd. I'm pretty sure there's no green unit with a weapon that has a mixed team effect yet, unless I completely overlooked it. But if there was one, then you could add them onto this team. A cool theme team you can run is Lloyd, Ursula, Nino, and Jafar. Nino would be the infantry mage that Lloyd needs nearby in order to use his weapon effect. As for builds, he can go a similar distant counter set as Fur from earlier. B slot options are Wrath, Quicker Post, or Vantage. If he goes Wrath or Vantage, and then Quicker Post Seal is a good choice there. If he goes Quicker Post in the B slot, then Distant Defense is a solid choice in the Seal slot. Now that was an enemy phase set, this one is a player phase set. Depending on what team you put him in, that'll decide whether or not it's better to run Defense Ploy as a Seal or a skill. On a mixed team, it's better to run Defense Ploy as a Seal and a Tactics skill in the C slot. He could also just run Speed Ploy and Defense Ploy if you want Lloyd to set up for himself. If you can only afford Defense Ploy, then the budget Seal option is Speed plus 3. Alright, 2 heroes left. We have Lilina's Forblaze here. The refined effect has chill resistance built in. At the start of the turn, the foe with the highest resistance gets their resistance debuffed by 7. Second effect is Death Blow. When Lilina initiates combat, she's granted 6 attack. It's a pretty boring effect. Most of us thought that her weapon was going to be like the one from her original game, which granted bonus damage versus dragons. It's a shame that she didn't get that effect, but this weapon does complement her stat line very well. Lilina has really high attack, it's 37, so she was already a great mage to use for nuking greens and some reds. This weapon just makes her better at her job. If you manage to fully merge her to plus 10, give her summoner support, attack plus 3 Sacred Seal, Death Blow in the A slot, attack tactic buff, Earth Blessing with Ike as an ally, then her attack stat totals at 71 and increases to 83 in combat because of double Death Blow. And if you take into account chill resistance debuff from her weapon, then she essentially has 90 total attack. That is insane. I have a plus attack Lilina, and she's probably going to be the first mage that I'm going to plus 10 merge. As for builds, this set is what I would probably go because it's both cheap and effective. Give her Death Blow and Swordbreaker. She's going to have enough damage to take out most greens in one shot, especially if they are inflicted by the Chill Res effect. Swordbreaker is there to help her double fast sword units in case she cannot one round KO them. If your team doesn't have any trouble versus sword units, then the other options are Wings of Mercy or Red Tome Breaker. If your Lilina is plus speed, then consider going for a Wind Sweep build. Wind Sweep prevents physical melee enemies from counterattacking, so it'll be great for arenas since armored units with distant counter are everywhere. I guess you could go Water Sweep instead too if your team struggles against Dragonstone units. Last but not least is Roy. I think most of us were hoping for a distant counter effect. Instead, he got Quick Riposte 5, Bracing Stance 2, and effective against Dragon effect. I said Quick Riposte 5 because the HP requirement is 20% less than Quick Riposte 3. In fact, it's the same health requirement as Vengeful Fighter. That means that it'll be easier for Roy to get into that sweet spot to use both Vantage and Quick Riposte together. But anyways, I'm not really surprised or disappointed that he got Quick Riposte for his weapon because it suits his stat line fairly well. The only issue is that he really needs specific IVs to perform at his best. Plus speed minus HP IVs is what I would recommend looking for. That will give him the best shot at preventing doubles for more matchups, and minus HP IVs is the best bane for retaining mixed bulk without sacrificing any offensive stats. This refinement may seem kind of bland to some of you guys, but it certainly does make Roy a lot better. For a melee versus melee build, I think this is probably his go-to set, either Steady Breath or Warding Breath with Guard and Close Defense Steel. I checked the calcs and looks like he'll need Warding Breath in order to survive Speedy Fury Vantage Nowies. That's the only matchup that Warding Breath changes. With Steady Breath equipped, he can still take out Steady Breath Nowies, Female Corin, and Female Grima. Guard is extra important if your Roy is not plus speed. It's less useful for speedy Roys, but it's still useful for the Ira matchup. If you don't have guard fodder, then maybe go for Wrath, Renewal, Swordbreaker, or Chill Speed. Any of those will work. And with those same B slot options excluding Swordbreaker, you can give him distant counter and a different steel, and you got yourself a solid anti-range set. If you are a tier 20 player and all you have is a 0 merge plus speed Roy, then I might consider using speed plus 3 in the seal slot for double prevention, but it also depends on the amount of speed buffs that is present on the team. I talked about Quick Riposte Vantage earlier. That's something you can do with the set as well. The special slot is flexible. I have Aether for most of these builds, mainly for arena points. Two skills that I didn't mention that I think would work great with Roy's stat line and weapon are Speed Defense Bond and Attack Speed Bond. You can use the same B slot skills as the Steady Breath build, but you might not want to use Aether because this set has no cooldown reduction skills unless you want to use Aether strictly for arena points. Otherwise, 3-star specials are going to be more effective. Alright, that's about it for this video. My two favorite refinements are Roy's and Lilina's. Roy probably has the best refinement out of the batch, with Lilina coming in at a close second. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments. I'm guessing most of you guys will say Roy or Lilina, but all in all, I don't think this weapon refinement update was that exciting. Don't get me wrong, the effects are great and makes each and one of them a lot better, but I was expecting some cooler effects. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.